Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. I'd like to give special thanks to my talented producer who's making it happen today, the very talented Mr. Logan Landers. Our video today is the 2024 Carolina Panthers draft class, as we're going to recap what the Panthers did in the draft and give you our draft grade to the Carolina Panthers. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today, this young man is very talented. He's one of the top writers at FirstRoundMark.com. He's coming to us live out of the beautiful state of Colorado. We call him the rock star of the 2024 NFL Draft, Mr. William Yanish. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We surely appreciate you here on 100 Yards of Football. Mr. Yanish, let's jump into it. The Carolina Panthers. Let's go to the draft pick by pick. Start the show off today, sir.
Oh, man, let's see. I mean, after the last couple of years, what Carolina's done, I'm surprised they even had a draft this year. You know, had to do a little bit of moving and shaking to get something. But, man, I mean.
And Mr. Yanish, can I say something before we get started today?
Sure thing, man.
Please watch what you say about these different teams' fan base, because I just got off a video that somebody felt like I kind of was too hard on their fan base, which is the Cleveland Browns. So you could do what you want to, but we tell the truth here in 100 Yards Football, but there might be some people that be upset. You have the floor back, Mr. Yanish.
Oh, no, see, that's what I'm talking about, the Carolina Panthers here. You know, after last year, I had C.J. Stroud, number one quarterback. We're not going to go into that, but let's get down to pick number 32, man. The last pick of the first round, and Panthers traded back in, and they had the second or the first pick of the second round as well, but they traded back in because they said that they were going to take Xavier Legette in the first round. That's what they told him, and they didn't want to be off on that. Well, that is a player that, I mean, it's one of the most talented receivers in this draft. And I mean, a 4.3 40, 40-inch vertical, or 42 maybe. I'm just everything, man. This kid, this is who I had, the morning, going to my San Francisco 49ers. I was relatively sure that Xavier Legette, and that is just the perfect pick for a young quarterback like Bryce Young, especially after having a tough rookie season, man. I mean, what do you think about the pick?
When I think about Xavier Legette, I'm going to put it to you like this. I think he's a young Mike Quick that played for the Philadelphia Eagles back in the mid-'80s. Perfect size, 6'3", 227. Finished the year 71 receptions, 1,255 yards, 7 touchdowns. A lot of people saying he only did this 1 year, but I tell you what, when South Carolina came up to Athens, Georgia, and played the Georgia Bulldogs in the third game of the year, in that first half, you know who was the best player on the field? It was Mr. Legette. Go back and watch the game film. I think, as you just mentioned, William, Bryce Young needs help, and this could have been a more better pick. And this young man is going to give Bryce Young some production at the wide receiver position.
Very much so, man. It seems like that was pretty much the theme of this draft, and then going into the second round and grabbing a running back like Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. That's a player that, I mean, I saw more than a few people that had him as a top running back in the draft. And, I mean, what is better to help out that young quarterback than to get him a running game? Miles Sanders, he never really worked out a whole lot, but now they got that new blood, and Jonathan Brooks, man. I mean, what do you think?
I'm looking at Jonathan Brooks coming out of the eyes of Texas. To me, he was the best back in the draft. Think about this: in 11 games, he had over 1,100 yards, had that torn ACL. A lot of people was questioning would that really affect him going into the draft and would his draft stock will fall. I would say this: if he would have finished the season out, we probably would have been talking about Washington playing in the national championship game against Michigan. We probably would have been talking about Texas. Only 20 years old, young guy. And what I like about him, size, speed, strength. like all the great Texas running backs, Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, Jamal Charles. You see what I'm saying? Priest Holmes. Jonathan Brooks right now is going to be a guy I would not be surprised that he put up the numbers and we'd be talking about him maybe NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I can definitely see that, man. Then after 2023, they lost Frankie Louvu to Washington. You know, happened to pick up a new linebacker or two. In the third round at pick 72, they ended up with Trevin Wallace out of Kansas. Is that right?
Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky. Must have had it wrong. Anyway, man, what do you think about a player like him? I mean, is he able to, you know, come in and be anything like Frankie Louvu was as a middle linebacker? Or?
I'm gonna say this about Mr. Wallace: athletic, played in the toughest conference in all of football, the SEC. Excellent pick here for the Carolina Panthers. So you got to think about this. Their GM, Dan Morgan, was an All-American linebacker at the University of Miami. So you got to be thinking Dan Morgan know what he's doing. But this young man right here, Trevor Wallace, is a football player. Athletic.
Very much so, man. And like you're talking about Dan Morgan on that, and I mean him in that 2003 Super Bowl, you know, having 25 tackles against the Patriots, man. I think he knows a few things about some linebackers, so I'm sure that's a great value pick right there. Next is one of my favorite tight ends out of this year's draft is Ja'Tavion Sanders out of Texas, and that just speaks again to helping out, you know, the young quarterback, you know, giving him a safety valve. You know, he's got one on the outside and Leggett in the backfield and Brooks, and now he's going to have Sanders on the end of the line. I mean, it looks like that team's coming together pretty nicely on having him a little bit of an offense to work with.
When I think about this young man, Mr. Sanders, I think playmaker, the eyes of Texas, explosive. Can we say Keith Jackson? Can we say John Mackey? Can we say Kellen Winslow Sr.? Remember this, he played on a very talented Texas team that had a lot of playmakers on the outside. A.D. Mitchell, Jonathan Brooks, Xavier Worthy. So he got a kind of overlook. But make no mistake, another excellent pick for the Panthers, getting this young man out of the eyes of Texas.
After that, they ended up with a few going on some defensive picks, some depth picks, a cornerback out of Washington State, a defensive tackle out of Mississippi State, and linebacker Michael Barrett out of Michigan. That was one that we talked about on a show before the draft. And, I mean, I think that seventh round pick of Michael Barrett, I think that it has some of the most value of any of the picks in this draft for the Panthers. You know, I mean, I was pretty sure he was around a middle round pick, third, fourth round. And then, you know, being able to pick him up in the seventh and possibly helping him fill in that role with Frankie Louvu and all. What do you think of those picks, man?
When I look at Chad Smith-Wade, I'm looking at Washington State, a guy 5'11", 176, a very tough, versatile type corner. His mental ability was off the charts. Very value pick there. Again, Dan Morgan, being a defensive guy at the University of Miami, the GM, excellent pick. Then you're talking about Jalen Crumbley, Mississippi State. Hey, man, all you got to look at Mississippi State history at defensive tackles. By the way, Derek Brown, you finna get some help, my man, because I think Mr. Crumbley has not really reached his potential. We're talking about a solid player, played for Mississippi State, the toughest conference in all of college football, the SEC. But think about this. Mississippi State has produced two really good defensive tackles that's played in the National Football League. Can I say the young man that just retired, Fletcher Cox? Can I say the young man right now who I think is the best D tackle in the game since Aaron Donald's retired, Chris Jones? You know where they came from? They came from Mississippi State. The water is real nice down there for defensive tackles. And then finally, Michael Barrett, Michigan. What more can you say about him? 208 career tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. But this is for Mr. Logan, our producer today. You know, Mr. Barrett is from Valdosta, Georgia, the state of Georgia representing. He was a 3-down linebacker at Michigan, and he was a 2-time captain. Very solid pick there for the Carolina Panthers. And I was very shocked that that young man dropped that far in the draft. Overall, when I look at the Carolina Panthers, they're going to be a much improved football team with the draft they just had.
I can see that. I've also been seeing a couple things on social media about the undrafted free agent Jalen Coker, receiver out of Holy Cross, 6'1", 208 pounds, and I mean they've been talking about him just showing up, you know, with the rookies and making a little bit of a name for himself. What do you think of that?
Well, like I said, you're going to find some diamonds in the rough when you're talking about bringing in undrafted free agent players. We're going to go back to my point again. Dan Morgan played in the national championship program at Miami, played on a very good Carolina Panthers team in the mid-2000s, the Super Bowl quality teams that made it to the Super Bowl. Looking overall this draft, I think the Panthers, and this is my final word on the Carolina Panthers, they got 3 really studs on the offensive side of the ball. Mr. Leggett, go back to the Georgia game this past year. In the first half, he was the best player on the field. He made Spencer Rattler look very well out there. Jonathan Brooks, I'm going to say it one more time to our audience. If he wouldn't have got hurt, we probably wouldn't have been talking about Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies playing in the national championship game against Michigan. Because if he would have been on the field that night against Washington, it would have definitely been a different story. And then Jayton Von Sanders. This young man, when I talk about ability at the tight end position, man, I'm talking about he got a little bit of Keith Jackson when Keith Jackson was at Oklahoma. He's got a little bit of Kellen Winslow Sr. when he was at Missouri. He's got a little bit of John Mackey when John Mackey was playing with the Baltimore Colts, Syracuse Orangeman. This is a gentleman that's very special. And the thing that I like about Mr. Sanders, he had 99 receptions for over 1,295 yards in his career at Texas. But the speed and ability to get down the seam, and then think about why he didn't get a lot of touches. The other receiver, Mr. Worthy, went first round with the Kansas City Chiefs. The other receiver went in the top second round to the Indianapolis coach at A.D. Mitchell. Mr. Sanders is going to be a big-time player. My final words to Carolina Panthers, I'm going to give him a B+. Dan Morgan, your first time out, you did a very excellent job. Back to you, Mr. Yanish, your final words about the Carolina Panthers 2024 NFL Draft.
Final words, man, is, you know, they saw the need to move around and pick up some players, even lacking on the draft picks, you know, trading for their top 3 picks. That's something they got excellent value. I am going to give them a solid A on this for what they started out with. They didn't have much after what's been happening, but now, you know, Morgan comes in and does this his first draft, and I think it's very solid. And I wish the Carolina Panthers a lot of luck, and I think they'll be doing a lot better this year now. They got some youth injected. If
you like the video today, please come in and share. We surely appreciate hearing 100 yards of football. Special thanks to my producer who made it happen today, the very talented Logan Landers. I've been your host, Vincent Turner. Special thanks to the gentleman on the screen right there. We call him the rock star, the 2024 NFL Draft. My man, Mr. William Yanish, coming to us live out of Colorado. Y'all be blessed here on 100 yards.